Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us at the Virtual College Exploration. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. And you will all use the Q&A button on your screens to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off in case you did not realize. So the panelists cannot see or hear you. Oh, I also want to let you know to make sure that you know there are many different sessions happening. So make sure when you're done with this to go and check out the full schedule at NJACAC.org virtual fair. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, NJACAC.org/virtual fair. And so now at this point, I will be turning it over to our presenters.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Candace. I am your admissions counselor. I work with all of the students in New Jersey. I'm actually a regional counselor, so I live down here too. I'm not up in Burlington. I've got a few extra people with me here today, as you see. These are two of our advocates who are like our student ambassadors in our office. I'm going to give them a minute here to introduce themselves, and then we're going to transition over into our presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, we're going to do a Q&A and panel, and you guys can bounce questions off of our students here as well, because sometimes it's nice to hear from them and not from me. So please feel free at any point the Q&A, not the chat. So we've got a bunch to choose from as we get started, but without further ado, Emily, Jake, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go first. Hi everyone, my name is Emily. I am a fourth year at the University of Vermont. I am currently in the Grossman School of Business studying business administration with an accounting concentration. I am originally from New Jersey. I grew up right outside of Long Beach Island, but my family just relocated to southern Vermont, but I was born and raised in Jersey. And when I'm not in the classroom, you can find me skiing, hiking, and just exploring downtown Burlington.
Hi everyone, my name is Jake Guess. I am a junior from Glen Rock, New Jersey, about 30 minutes outside of New York City. I'm studying environmental science in our College for Agriculture and Life Science with a concentration in agriculture and a minor in Spanish. Outside of the classroom, I am a tour guide. I'm involved in fraternity and sorority life. I'm on our Student Government Association, and I'm currently doing research for my honors thesis.
All right, sounds good. So let me go ahead and get this screen shared with you guys. Got to make sure I share the sound so we can watch our videos. And here we go. So just a little bit about the University of Vermont. Like I said, we'll go through this here. To start us off today, I really just want to take a moment to acknowledge how challenging this year has been for everybody. Really, students from all across the country and families too, across the country, across the world have really been impacted by all the changes this year. And I want to show you guys how the UVM community has responded, kind of the principles that drive us, and introduce you to some of the people that make UVM what it is. So my hope is just to bring a little bit of campus here today, even in this virtual space for just a brief minute. Oh, it always does this. I'm still getting used to clicking into the YouTube.
Hey, it's Matt Lunzer, one of the physicians over in the Student Health Center, and I think it's really important that everybody knows that we're still open for business.
Thank you so much for joining us in our virtual 425K.
Running/biking 425K.
So let's get started and run. Okay, guys?
UVM. I'm a East Morgenstein First.
Hey people, my name is Tyler Doggett.
I am quarantined at home and watching the news and trying not to watch the news every minute.
It's pretty quiet around here, but we're really looking forward to having the students and faculty come back.
All right, so some quick stats here about the University of Vermont. You can see kind of our size and the breadth of the programs that we offer. We are just over 10,000 undergraduate students, and you might notice that the ratio of our in-state to out-of-state students is probably a little unusual for a public university, but that's because Vermont is a small state, so our students do come from all across the country, all across the world. Definitely a strong cohort of students from New Jersey up at UVM, so you might see some familiar faces. You do see here too, we offer over 100 different majors organized into 7 different academic colleges or schools, really kind of ranging from, we've got our College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, the College of Arts and Sciences, which is our largest. We also have the College of Education and Social Services, the College of Engineering and Mathematical Sciences, Nursing and Health Sciences, as well as our Grossman School of Business and our Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources. You might be wondering, what do you do if you're undecided? That's quite okay too. Many students do come in undecided each year. You can actually apply as undecided or undeclared to all the different schools except for the College of Nursing or the School of Business. So you've got a lot of options in there as you're figuring out what it is you want to do and you're exploring your options. Some great distinctions of UVM, I think, are definitely our faculty. Professors at UVM are world-class scientists and scholars, and they're really kind of driven to be making new discoveries in their field. But they also love to teach, and at UVM, we follow a teacher-scholar model, which allows them to do both. And this really just benefits our students because you're getting to work hand in hand, right alongside experts in the fields that you're studying. Another hallmark of a UVM education is our land-grant heritage. So we're a research university, but we have this kind of land-grant mission. Land-grant universities are dedicated to education that helps improve the health of our societies. So kind of guided by that mission, you'll find that sense of purpose in our classrooms, our laboratories, our clubs, really kind of every aspect of life at UVM. This is one of my favorite slides because I always say UVM is the best of both worlds. So you can see here, that also might be a little contradictory. We are old. We were founded in 1791. We're actually the 5th oldest university in New England, but we're constantly renewing our programs as well as our facilities to keep up with the ever-changing world around us. So you might see on campus things like our new STEM complex or the new Central Campus Residence Hall. And we're also doing some work on the student athletic facilities and building a multi-purpose event center at this time. Then again, our size, that 10,000 I would say is medium, so it's both big and small. 10,000 is big compared to liberal arts colleges, but it's definitely on the smaller end when it comes to national research universities. So it's really that sweet spot where students get to benefit from that intimate academic attention kind of in the classroom, but really have the access to opportunities and resources of a larger university. And then our location in Burlington, Vermont is both urban and open. Being kind of right in the heart of Burlington, which is Vermont's largest city, gives our students a lot of access to different resources, business and technology, which is great for internships. You've got a great music scene, art scene, foodies love Burlington. So there's a lot of different things to take advantage of in the city, but we are right there on Lake Champlain, and we have the Green Mountains and the Adirondack Mountains all around us. So it's a great opportunity to take a deep breath, get some fresh air, and get out there for recreational purposes. All right, there's a lot to love at UVM. Here's just a couple of things that we like to highlight. I did mention our STEM complex, but we do also have a hospital on campus. It is the University of Vermont Medical Center and our medical school. So that's a really great resource for students who are interested in, the nursing, pre-med, pre-health, anything like that. I'm kind of in that field. You have that opportunity to be working in that setting and shadowing and getting that experience, which is really tremendous. We also have over 200 different clubs and organizations. So I always say you shouldn't be bored on campus. There's a lot to get involved with. We are Division I for our athletic programs, and I know You know, football's big in New Jersey, but we don't have D1 football at UVM. Hockey and basketball would definitely be our two biggest like school spirit sports to come out and support the Catamounts. And then I always like to highlight the food on campus because I think it's fantastic. I always look forward to going up and eating on campus when I'm there. But 20% of the food that we serve in our dining halls is local food. So I would like to say it's good and good for you. And that includes the ice cream in our dairy barn that is made from the milk from our very own cows right down the street. And I don't think you can get too much more local than that. All right, so no matter what it is that you're, you're studying, you're learning, you want to get out of the classroom, put what you're learning into practice, start gaining that real world experience and building your resume. And at UVM, 92% of our students are doing some sort of experiential learning. And that's kind of the big umbrella term that includes things like internships, research, service learning, study abroad, clinical, student teaching, right? All of those hands-on experiences. You can see just a list here of some recent internships that our students have done, both in and around Vermont, as well as across the country. But Jake, do you want to tell us about an internship that you've done?
Yeah, for sure. So relating it back to experiential learning, the first semester of my first year, I took a soil science class in our Rubenstein School for the Environment and Natural Resources. And every single lab, once a week, we'd go out into the woods near UVM, and we'd take soil samples and soil augers, and we practice all these very practical skills that would be expected of an environmental scientist. And I didn't really think much of it. I didn't think it was that important, but I just thought it was pretty cool. And then I ended up finding this environmental consulting internship down in Long Beach Island for the summer after my first year. And one of the things that the employees were looking for was being able to do all these practical skills. And I was able to say, yeah, I learned this in my first semester, in my first year at UVM. I already know these skills. You don't have to teach me. And that was like, when I ended up getting hired, that was the thing that they said, like, that was what put me above everyone else, was the fact that I already knew how to do these practical skills. They didn't have to teach me. And it really just ended up coming in handy for my career path, which was awesome. And every single student that ends up coming to UVM has that same experience, because every major has experiential learning in one way or the other, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so whether you're going through the Career Center, you're going through your advisor, there's going to be a ton of different ways to get this hands-on experience. Kind of another hallmark of your college experience is the residential life. It's probably the first time many of you are living away from home. It's really fun to go to college and like live with your friends. It can also be a little bit scary to make that transition and be further away from home. So we've put a lot of thought into how we structure our residence halls at UVM, and we have all of our students organized into different learning communities. So you have to live on campus at least 2 years. Therefore, you have the opportunity to live in different learning communities 1 year and another your sophomore year. But this is a great model because it allows students to select which topic you're interested in. You'll be coming in, making new friends who have a similar interest to you. It kind of helps break the ice and to take a class during your first year. Do you guys want to talk a little bit more about the residential learning communities? Because you're the ones who experienced it, not me.
Yeah, for sure. I lived in the Honors College dorms for my first 2 years at UVM. And I will say having these living learning communities was one of the highlights of coming to UVM, especially compared to my friends from home who went to other colleges and didn't have the same experience. Being in these themed housings where you have something similar to the students who you're living with, but you're not necessarily in the same major, was such a great dynamic, because you weren't spending the entire day with them. You weren't going to the same classes as the people you were living with. You might have one class with them during the first semester, but besides that, it really was just something that you all were passionate about that kind of connected you all together within the living community, which I really appreciated, because I think if I saw my roommate the entire day, every single day, and then went back home to him at the end of the day, I might have killed him. But it really does create this awesome sense of just community and bonding. And especially with that first class that you take, I am not the most outgoing person, although it might not seem like that because I'm a tour guide, but especially coming into college, I wasn't the most outgoing person. And having that class with the people that you were living with kind of forced you to hang out with them outside of the class, do the homework with them. And then you realize, wow, we have more in common than just this one class. We actually like being friends with each other. And it creates this great dynamic within the places that you're living within your first 2 years that creates these amazing bonds and friendships. The people that lived in my hall my first year that I had a class with, I am still friends with to this day. I've been living with them for the past 3 years and they are my best friends. So just being able to have the opportunity to live with people you have the same kind of interests with, and then also take a class with them. And it is an amazing setup overall that I really haven't seen copied at any other university, which is great.
So I kind of came into UVM a little bit later. I started as a junior, but I didn't actually have the opportunity to be in one of the learning communities. But if I had, I definitely think that there's so many great events, and I always like to talk about this during tour. There's so many great events like Jake was talking about with the community, so definitely get involved with as many of those as you can, because like the wellness environment throws so many great events throughout the year, and I think that's a great way to meet people as well.
Thanks. Awesome. So at UVM, speaking of that community, we are dedicated to supporting and celebrating the unique identities of all of our students, faculty, and staff members. But we do have a lot in common as a community, and that's what we call our common ground. And that's the list of values that you see there: respect, integrity, innovation, openness, justice, and responsibility. These are the values we pledge to uphold throughout everything that we do at UVM. Just kind of, our honor code, if you will, that we kind of live by at all times. So the picture that you see there in the middle is actually one of our, favorite traditions, is when everyone comes together at the beginning of the semester, when all the new students move in. There's that candlelight ceremony on the university green. That sense of community is really kind of just pulsing throughout the atmosphere, and everyone comes together to renew this pledge for the year. It's really kind of a special moment. We also deeply value diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we have this throughout all aspects of campus life. Again, both the social side of things as well as the academic life. So you'll see here listed our different campus identity centers. We have our Mosaic Center for Students of Color, the Prism Center, the Interfaith Center, and the Women and Gender Equity Center. And these are really great active spaces where our students can gather, explore these identities, start kind of figuring out what it might mean to them. They're great places you can also just go and hang out with your friends. They do different programming throughout the year. They're really great spaces for our students. We have 4 general education requirements. These are the classes that every student has to take in order to graduate that further connect to these values. So students will take at least 2 diversity courses, another on sustainability, at least 1 quantitative reasoning, and then also foundational writing and information literacy. And we've kind of chosen these topics because we want our students to develop integrated competencies that really are essential, we think, to becoming a lifelong learner as well as a responsible citizen. All right, so my favorite part of UVM is where we are in Burlington. UVM would not be the same without Burlington, and Burlington would not be the same without UVM. We definitely have that kind of reciprocal relationship where we're feeding off of each other, that energy. It's definitely a college town, and usually ranks pretty highly on all of those lists for exactly that. Whether our students are doing internships, they're going to eat. I know we had another advocate last year who graduated who made it his goal to try to eat at like all 100-something restaurants, and Brian was like checking off his list every weekend, going to new places. Burlington's just a really cool town for our students. It's also really accessible. The airport is 3 miles from campus, and there are direct daily flights from Newark, so it's pretty easy to get to and from New Jersey. But it's also, 5 to 6-ish hour drive, depending on where you're coming from in the state. We also have a bus station and a train station, so it's pretty easy to get to and from. But for my folks who are up in Burlington, Emily, Jake, what do you guys love about Burlington so much? What's your favorite thing to go do, favorite place, something we should all do next time we're up there?
I think my favorite thing about Burlington is kind of what you touched on, what a great college town it is. I think people look for a school that is academically challenging as well, but something else that's super important is also the surrounding area. And Burlington has everything a student could possibly need. We have amazing restaurants, we have shopping. Church Street is something that people come to Burlington for, just to experience it. There's always music playing, and then at night they have the lights all lit up and you're walking up the street and it's just so lit and nice. Champlain sunsets, Lake Champlain sunsets, I think are my favorite part of being up here. Just going down by the waterfront, getting a maple creamy, which for those who don't know what a creamy is, it's soft serve. It's maple soft serve, getting creamy, sitting with your friends, and then also just the ease to being outside in nature if you want it. I mean, we have Lake Champlain for the beach, and then we can drive 45 minutes and go hike Camel's Hump. And then in the winter, we're about 50 minutes away from some of the close ski resorts. So Burlington is just truly one of the best places you can be for a really well-rounded year of everything you want to do.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Emily on that in terms of the fact that, like, being from around New York City, I really never expected myself to go anywhere else besides being near a big city, especially since buildings here aren't taller than like 4 stories, which was kind of mind-blowing to me. But it's really awesome because you do have all the opportunities that you might have in a large city like New York City, where you have these amazing restaurants, these amazing music venues, all of these opportunities to do things on weeknights and weekends. Like, one of my favorite things is to go to, there's this bar every Tuesday that has Dead Set, and they'll just play a bunch of Grateful Dead every night. You don't have to be 21 to go in. You can just get your arm and your hands stamped, and you can go in and listen to music. And it's a really great way to just kind of do something during the week and blow off some steam. But then you also have the small town kind of feel where the community is super just connected to the UVM students in general. One of my favorite parts of Burlington is getting to go down every weekend to our farmers market, because all the local farmers from around the area will come and bring their honey and maple syrup and locally made ice cream and all these crazy flavors. And it's just a really great way to get off campus. And then also touching on what Emily said with being able to get outdoors, there's so many opportunities to just do things off of campus. I honestly don't understand how other college students who don't go to UVM, like, what their daily life is besides doing school, because the majority of my time is spent hiking, skiing, backpacking, kayaking down all the rivers near here, paddle boarding, sailing. Basically anything you can do outdoors, you will be able to do here. And if you don't know how to do it, you'll find someone who will be able to, because the majority of the people that go here love those types of things. So yeah, just having all of these opportunities to do things outside of school really does make it a full college experience, which is why I love going here.
Awesome. So that's like the perfect segue. Next up, I've got a little video. We gave a bunch of our students some GoPros previously, not this past year, and to kind of just show us what a day in their life is like. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of taste of what normal life on campus is like at UVM. Sunset we were talking about. I echo Emily, it really is beautiful. All right, so kind of to summarize everything we've talked about so far, UVM I think is a really great mix of a fully equipped land-grant university that's both old and new and big and small, and our faculty love to teach, and our students from all over the world get all of the experience that they need in order to be successful. However it is that you define that success. So that could be employment, graduate school, really wherever your goals lead you. And as you can see here, our students have had strong outcomes, and we're really proud of the work that our alumni are doing across the globe. And now's the part where I always say we get to talk about the fun stuff, the application part, and it's not as much fun. I try to make it sound a lot more exciting than it is. But at UVM, we are on both the Common App as well as the Coalition app. We have Early Action, which has a November 1st deadline. And we have Regular Decision, which has a January 15th deadline. Regardless of which application you do or which timeline you apply on, all of the requirements are the same. The review process is the same, so it's really up to you. We do a holistic review of all of our applicants, which means we're taking into consideration all of the different parts of your application because you are all of these different parts, right? You're not just a GPA or a test score or, you know, a letter of recommendation. You're kind of the sum of all of those different parts. So we're looking at you both, you know, your academic background and preparation, but we're also looking at you for your unique story, who you are and what makes you you. We will get your transcript and review your transcript for kind of obviously your grades and your GPA, but also the rigor of the classes that you've taken or kind of the sequence of those courses within the context of what your school offers. So we take into consideration if they're AP or honors or IB or anything like that. You'll see there the average GPA of our applicants is about a 3.7 on a 4.0 scale. We are test optional for our students applying for the fall of 2021. So no determination has been made yet if we're going to continue to be test optional for future years, but as of right now for this year, we're going to be test optional. If you have test scores and you'd like to submit them, you are welcome to. Again, another part of your application for us to consider, but you don't need to submit test scores this year if you don't want to. We also recognize that students haven't been able to have the access to these tests as they would have previously, so we know a lot of students aren't going to have them this year, and that's quite okay. I also encourage you to go onto our website and explore the optional supplemental questions that we have. I think they're really fun and they're a great opportunity for us, again, to get to know you outside of just your classroom experience and what you do at school. Because I'm not sure if anywhere else is asking, you know, which Ben and Jerry's flavor would you be and why? But we are. We're also, you know, that's just one of the questions that you can pick. We also have, you know, basic question like why UVM, or if you could build anything, what would you build? So some fun questions. They're not intended to be hard or stressful. Just we want to see a little bit more of your personality. All these different things are considered. We also automatically consider all of our admitted students for merit scholarship, and 87% of our students are receiving scholarships and financial aid. For our out-of-state students, our merit scholarships do go up to $20,000 per year. And then to get your financial aid package, you would need to submit your FAFSA by February 1st. We also consider all of our admitted students for an invitation to join our honors college. You don't have to do any sort of a separate application, anything. We're trying to make this whole process pretty easy for you guys. Okay. You can always go on our website and explore more options for the application, see what's out there, all the different pieces, and you can always reach out to me at any point should you have any questions. That's a perfect segue into putting my contact information up here for you guys. So, you know, we hope that you guys can see yourself at UVM after this presentation, a little bit more information for you. The next steps are really just to stay connected with us so we can send you useful updates, keep in touch throughout the process. I am your resource for anything that you might need. You've got my contact information here. I also have video chat availability. Our advocates have video chat capabilities now, so they're always available to chat with students too. And you can go on our virtual visit page there and see all of the other, you know, virtual offerings that we have this fall, like our open houses, different academic sessions, tours, panels, workshops, kind of the whole 9 yards. So we are only offering virtual content this fall. Students are on campus and they're learning, so we're helping to like de-densify campus and keep everybody safe and healthy. But so we're going to continue to just do online programming this fall. All right, so at that point, I'm welcoming you to please put some questions in the chat. Ask our students. You have all of us here as your resource tonight. And to kick us off though, I'm gonna stop sharing so we can just have this be more conversational. I have a couple questions to get us started to give you guys a few minutes to type into the Q&A. I know a question I always get asked at pretty much every visit that I do or a college fair that I do is, how are the winters? I feel like Vermont's not that far away from New Jersey, but that's definitely a question that we always get asked. So you guys want to tell us, what is winter like in Burlington, Vermont?
Sure, so I can speak a little bit to the winters. Coming from Jersey, especially coming from winters at the beach in New Jersey, I want to say that I was prepared for it for the most part, but I also like to phrase it in this way. It does get cold up here in the wintertime, but you quickly get used to it in the sense of we have maybe one cold snap and then all of a sudden it'll go into the 40s or the 50s one day and it feels so warm, whereas in New Jersey, I feel like it would be 45 and it'd still be freezing. But now you have a couple days, it's really cold and then it breaks and it's not so bad. And I think just the wintertime is something that Vermont is super known for as well. So even though it is cold here, we have so many winter activities. The skiing is amazing. We have so many resorts nearby. I remember during one of the big snowstorms last year, me and my roommate went out and we had sleds, and we were sledding down one of the hills right by the Gutterson Gym. So I think winter in Vermont is cold, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I always like to say that I feel like the couple of times that I have been to Burlington, like in the winter, that it's a happy winter. It's very different than being in New Jersey where everything is just like gray and slushy and like you're just driving in your car. So I think Burlington has a happy winter. We're getting some questions in the chat now, so this is super exciting. I'm gonna go to those, but I still have a couple in case we need them. As students in Vermont, have you taken advantage of the proximity to cities like Montreal? I feel like that's something we don't always touch on, is like how close we are to Montreal as like our next big city. So have you guys been to explore?
Yeah, we are so close to the Canadian border. It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize like how close we actually are. Like Canadian border is maybe 50 minutes away max. And then like Montreal overall is maybe like an hour and a half drive from Burlington. It's like you could do a day trip if you wanted to, but it is so much fun to go visit, especially because major concerts go there. So like I've gone 4 times in the 2 years that I've been here so far, pre-COVID. And every single time has been to see a concert. I saw Rex Orange County there. I think I saw Snoop Dogg there. I don't know. Basically, like the majority, these like major like artists will come into Montreal, and it's not that far to go there. So it's super fun to just like go and hang out. And then also, you are going to end up like, whether you like it or not, making friends with Vermonters when you go to UVM. And the majority of your friends who are Vermonters will have friends who go to school in Canada because it's so close. So then you end up getting free housing, which is also great because you don't have to pay for it. It's a great thing to have overall, super close. Also, speaking about like close cities, Boston's only like 2.5 to 3 hours away, which is really not that bad at all. When you get used to the 5 to 6 hour drives that it takes to get up here in the first place. And Boston's another great city to go explore, spend a weekend at, just go with your friends. Yeah, having cities like that super close it's awesome.
Again, best of both worlds for everything. This is what I'm saying. All right, Allie's asked a couple of questions about how classes are going this fall and like tours and all of that. So I can let the students talk about their experience with how everything is working this fall, since I'm actually not on campus, so it's tough for me not being in Burlington. But we are not offering any formal programming this fall. Should you follow all of the travel and safety guidelines and happen to find yourself in Burlington, we do invite you to stop into the Admissions Visitor Center. The vestibule is open, and there's a QR code that you can scan that will give you a self-guided tour around campus. It's going to take you to externally to a couple of the key points on campus. You're not able to go into any of the buildings, but that's kind of what we have to offer you for right now. All right, so you guys want to talk about how school is going this semester, how everything's working?
Sure. So University of Vermont offered 2 options. For students who were not able to come back to campus or to the Burlington area, they had the at-home option, which means that students were able to take their classes exclusively online. And then what I'm doing is I'm doing the in-person option, which was I am back in my apartment in Burlington, and I'm doing a mix of in-person classes as well as online during the time that I'd be in class. Instead, I'm on a Microsoft Teams meeting and the professor is lecturing. When it comes to testing, we're being tested weekly, which I think is really awesome of the school. So I think that's what's really kept everything very calm on campus as well. And the professors are really trying their best. And I think at least all of my professors are doing an amazing job of really trying to be accommodating for these interesting times, as I like to say. But my professors have been great. Even when you are on campus, it's not like it was, but I still think that you're able to have that college experience if you make it.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, I'm really proud of the student body. They're really doing a great job following all the guidelines and keeping everybody safe this year, which is tremendous. So hopefully one day soon I get to come up and visit again too. Let's see here. So somebody asked, on average, are most internships in different states, like the one that Jake did? I would say yes and no. It depends. There's plenty of internships that are in Vermont, in Burlington. Really depends on your major and what you're looking for, but a lot of students like to do internships over the summer, like when they go back home. So there's a lot of different places that you could do different internships. All right, let's see. How is the food? That's always a favorite question, right? I love it. How about you guys?
I've loved the food, to be completely honest. We have this program called the Real Food Challenge, which means that I think our goal right now, and I think we're at 20%, but our goal is 25% of our food is local, organic, humane, fair trade. Basically, you're not getting any of that like greasy kind of food that you might think like dining hall college like dining halls might give you. It's honestly, my mom is a little upset, but I'll say it's better than my parents cooking sometimes. And I don't want to go home because when I go home, I get worse cooking than when I get when I'm here. And that was for my on-campus experience. We have 4 dining halls across the 4 campuses, and they're all you can eat. So you can go in as many times as you want and get this amazing food that the chefs will make. The majority of it will be local, and it gives like these little tags that say like the exact farm from like where the food was coming from, which is super cool to know and see that like you are getting food that's like not just good for you, but good for the environment and et cetera. It was something that I really appreciated. But then we also have these awesome retail options. Like we have a burrito place, and we have a couple coffee shops and a sandwich bar, and it's really, the food here is awesome. And then if you transition to like off campus, once you're a junior or a senior, or just in general, if you want to go off campus when you're an undergraduate, the food in Burlington is so good. Like every single time my parents come visit, I make them take me out to like the most expensive restaurant I can find, and we just dine out on like the best food. And they're always so surprised at how good it is. And I'm just like, this is what I'm eating on a 24/7 basis. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I've literally dreamt of some of the food. So like looking forward to coming to campus to eat there for sure. Awesome. So let's see, what else? What is your favorite class that you've had so far? That's always a good one. Emily, you want to start?
So my favorite class was a sustainable business class, and basically it was a class where we went in as business students, and there were 4 of us to a group, and we had to run a simulated business. So basically we had to learn about the marketing, the production, the finances going into it, and every week on a specific time, specific day, the simulation would run, and it would run off of all of the decisions we made. So maybe we put money into our long-term debt, or we put a certain amount of money into our marketing program, and from what we inputted into the simulation every week, we were able to see, okay, did we make money? Did we lose money? Where are we against our competitors in the simulation? And I think that was a really cool class and opportunity to kind of be able to see how one little decision that you make can completely trickle down to every other aspect of the business. And I think that that was something that you don't always get with other classes. So it was a really cool way to actually be hands-on, seeing how we were impacting a business and running it in the best way. So that was definitely my favorite class.
Jake, how about you? What was your favorite class?
So this had absolutely nothing to do with my major or my minor. I just had room for it and I really wanted to take it. But it was an animal products and human nutrition class. So it was basically just how different types of animal products like cheese and meat and honey and anything like that, how that affects you and the environment, etc. And it was super interesting because we were getting like hands-on knowledge and experience about like what certain products, what they'll do to you. It was a lot of myth busting, like how eggs aren't actually like bad for your cholesterol. That's just like some propaganda that was put out by some group. I don't know, but it was super cool to like see, like get like actual information about what we should be eating and how it affects our health. And what was really awesome about it is that our professor was super invested in it. And so she would bring us different animal products every week to try. So we tried like dried crickets and mealworms, and we tried quail eggs and duck eggs and different types of cheeses. And like, this was all on her own dime. Like she would just bring it in for us because she liked the class so much and like wanted us to experience it firsthand. And like that is very similar with most professors here. Like they give like 110% of the classes that they're in and just try to make your experience so much better. So I love that class because I got to try a bunch of different food that I never would have been able to afford or wanted to try.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I wish I could take a class like that. We have a question in here about the acceptance rate for the nursing program specifically. Overall, as a university, our acceptance rate is about 67%. And I would say it's not any different necessarily for our nursing students specifically. Our average GPA being about a 3.7. Last year, the middle 50% of test scores for SAT were between a 1200 and a 1400. For ACT, that was between about a 28 and a 33. Our nursing students typically fall right along those averages as well. I always do like to point out too that our application allows students to do a first choice and a second choice major. So if you're for some reason not qualified for your first choice major, we do consider you for your second choice major. So there's a lot of different options that you have when you're applying to UVM. All right, here's a good one too. Are there job opportunities on campus? I would say you're looking at some of them right here. But if you are offered federal work study through your financial aid package, most offices also do take federal work study, but do you guys want to talk about being a student employee?
Yeah, sure. I mean, advocates, being a tour guide is a perfect example of finding an area to be able to work while you're also a student, and just getting to share your experience. But there are tons of other opportunities that don't even require you to be a work study student. There's a lot of TA, teaching assistant jobs where if you take a class and you happen to do good in it and the professor likes you, they'll offer you a position to be able to be an assistant for them in the next semester, and they'll normally pay you. And that's basically like every single class has a teaching assistant. So there's a ton of opportunities for that, as well as every single professor here on campus is required to do research in some capacity and have spots for undergraduates to do research with. And the majority of the time, those positions are either for credit, which is essentially money, or paying you. So like the second semester of my first year, I was in an apple lab where I got to basically pick apples and then process them for like hard cider production, which was super cool to see. But I got paid like $15 an hour to literally just pick apples and like learn how to be in a lab, which was super cool and like a great experience. But there's a lot of opportunities like that throughout the entire university, especially since we just like, again, every single professor is doing research.
Awesome. So we've got just a few more minutes here. So I was going to go with our favorite last question, right? Why did you choose UVM? So we'll have Emily go and then Jake, and then we'll thank you all again for joining us tonight.
Sure. So there were a couple reasons that I decided to come to University of Vermont. I kind of touched on this before. I was a transfer student coming from a local community college in New Jersey. And one of the big things for me when I was searching for schools was kind of ease of credits transferring in, as well as people that were actively willing to work with me, with my schedule, with my classes, and UVM was 10 out of 10 the best place that did that. Even just coming to visit campus felt like home for me. I knew I should be here. And then last really big point, I grew up skiing at Smuggler's Notch, which is about an hour and 15 away from here. I remember coming to Burlington as a little girl. I loved it here. I always thought these kids are so lucky. I never thought I'd be able to end up here. So I think it just kind of, the cards aligned for me, and I was really fortunate, and I ended up at University of Vermont, and it was the best decision I've ever made.
Great. Jake, how about you? Why UVM?
So I always tell this joke on my tours, and I don't know if it's going to fall flat or not with this audience, but the first time I came to visit UVM, everyone was super, super nice. Like I was a little bit overwhelmed. Someone held open the door for me when I was like 15 feet away, and it made no sense because no one in New Jersey acts like that at all. As much as I love my New Jerseyans, we're not the nicest breed sometimes. And so coming to a school where everyone was just super genuine and super nice and just interested in who you are and what you were doing, and it was really, really refreshing to see a community that was just so invested in you as a person and like what you were interested in. I fell in love with that automatically. Just, I could see myself in this community, in this place where everyone is just super accepting and super willing to just be open and have a good time. And I I really, really appreciated that. So from the get-go, I was like, this is my place. Not New Jersey, but it's my place.
Awesome. Well, a big, huge thank you to both Emily and Jake for joining us today to answer some questions for you guys, give their own perspective. We really appreciate you taking the time in the evening to chat with us, to learn a little bit more about the University of Vermont. Please do not hesitate to be in touch with me throughout the year, and we look forward to hopefully being able to welcome you to campus sooner versus later, and I look forward to reading your applications. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was great to hear from everybody. And thank you all for joining us. Please note that when you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We really appreciate any feedback that you can provide. When you also, this is one of many sessions being hosted. So make sure you sign up for additional sessions. We're going to the rest of the week at njacac.org/virtual-fair. And like I mentioned earlier, in about a week, you'll be able to find this session recording along with all the other session recordings at njacac.org/virtual-fair. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.